Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Pop Culture Galaxy podcast. I'm Mark Bridge, and I'm here with Zach Worsner.
That's me.
And we're continuing with our James Bond retrospective. This is the 7th film.
Yep.
And the 4th, based on the 4th novel, Diamonds Are Forever. And it brings back none other than Sean Connery to the role after he... was it unceremoniously or ceremoniously left?
The producers would have rather he not left, but he was done.
Yeah. So they managed to bring him back, but amidst would you call it drama? Well, here's the thing. They figured, so George isn't coming back. George Lazenby isn't coming back. So they went about, all right, let's first of all, let's bring back what made Bond special. Let's bring back the guy who did Goldfinger, which was the most successful. So they brought back Guy Hamilton, and they brought back Richard Naboum. But they brought on another writer, Tom. What is his name? Tom Mankiewicz. And they wanted to make a more. And this is I noticed because I remember the first time I watched the films. These are one of the themes that kept going through, like Americanizing Bond in some way. Like, oh, let's get an American actor. So this isn't the first time that they broached the subject. Well, maybe it's the first time. No, because Cary Grant was one that they suggested. But it wouldn't be the last time that they tried to Americanize Bond. But this, I think maybe this is the closest because they actually casted John... What's his name? Gavin. John Gavin was cast, and I almost feel sorry for him because it's like he got the role, but then United Artists was like, "Nah, we need Sean Connery, and they knew they were gonna have to pay a big penny for him, around $2 million, which is a lot.
For his part, though, he was apparently a good sport. Mm-hmm. That he was cast with the knowledge that if Sean returned.
Yeah,
he would not be making the movie, so he had a pay or play deal.
Yes,
where he got some money, even though he didn't make the movie. You know, that's the best job in the world is to get paid for someone else acting in your movie.
Yep.
Like, as sad as it was that Billy D. Williams didn't get to play Two-Face, he still got paid for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was John Gavin cast. But then when Sean was like, "Oh, let me take a look at the script," he saw it and liked it for some reason, and then decided to come back.
Yep. And he did some good stuff with the money he got. Apparently, he formed a scholarship over in Scotland for artists to stay in Scotland to learn. Rather than going to America or England or wherever.
And he helped the impoverished youth in his area. Apparently, he donated his entire salary.
Yeah.
And the legend is that his ask of $2 million was like a joke.
Yeah.
But they believed him and gave it to him.
Yeah.
And he asked for $2 million plus a percentage. So, or not a percentage, but a production deal.
Yeah.
So he got a 2-picture film.
But he only made one.
Well, 2 pictures with the studio. One of them not being a Bond movie.
Right.
So he got to make a different movie.
And the movie looks like he made. It looked like he made it later because they showed like a little glimpse of it. It's called The Offense, I think. He looked really old in that, which means it probably. I mean, either he was already old already, and they managed to make him look a little bit younger in Diamonds Are Forever, or they took a long time to get that movie made.
I mean, it was 1973. It was only 2 years later.
Jesus Christ.
But that's like such a big part of this movie. You know, I have nothing against older actors. In fact, I like very often when actors age through their roles. I think some of Roger Moore's best stuff comes from a little bit later. And it helps that he's actually older than Sean Connery.
Yeah.
But in Diamonds Are Forever, Sean Connery just looks ancient. He looked older in You Only Live Twice, but you know, Thunderball was only 5 years before Diamonds Are Forever, and it looks like he's playing his dad.
Yeah.
It looks like Dr. Henry Jones Sr.
Yeah, it's great that he came back. But this was gonna be his last one until Never Say Never Again, which is we'll get to once we get to Octopussy. We'll start doing the compare and contrast.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. So this movie, I will say this, right? There's a lot more tits in this movie than, and it's rated PG, but like they
visible tatas.
Like when he's looking for Blofeld, and then he grabs the bikini. There's a lot of brutality towards women in this one, and people talk about Quentin Tarantino and his last movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and how he's brutal. I mean, he's brutal with some women in that, but they had it coming. I'm just kidding. But this one, he's like, oh my god, he's choking the girl with her bikini top. You see her titties and everything,
which is a good little moment of just like, it's Bond in a nutshell, just sex and violence.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you think our movies are sex and violence? Here's a moment, literally, of sex and violence.
Yeah.
Then the sunglasses come down, deal with it.
And he smacks Tiffany in the face. Like, oh my god. So yeah, and then even the opening sequence, credits, is like, because usually it's like silhouetted, you can't really see, but you can make out a nipple. But this one is like, granted they try to blur it out, like out of focus, but then it'll come into focus for like a millisecond, and you're definitely seeing breasts. And then there's a scene with Plenty. I didn't even know it was Plenty. Why was Plenty in that bottom of that? Why was she over that house? And she got drowned.
Because of deleted scenes.
Oh, okay.
So basically, after she gets thrown out of the hotel room, she doesn't appear again until she dies.
Yeah.
And there's a deleted scene where she sneaks back into the hotel room, and sees Bond and Tiffany having sex and gets very upset. Obviously, because she was just about to score some of that Sean Connery D.
Yeah.
And then she goes through Tiffany's purse and steals some of her stuff, and also finds out her address, and goes there.
Okay.
And that's when she's captured and killed.
Yeah, because that's for at that point it didn't make any sense. They probably should just either eliminated her death scene, but then it will create problem, or just keep the deleted scene. I don't know, man, because that didn't make any sense. But regardless, she was in the bottom of the pool. Camera pan down, you could definitely see some nips.
Yep. Nips everywhere.
But yeah, so that that's about it. And with that beginning, I just wanted to mention that.
That was Diamonds Are Forever. If you like this podcast, like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. I wish.
Yeah. And Shirley Bassey's back for the song.
It is a great theme. The saving grace of this movie is how good that theme is. Oh, that hi-hat.
So, yeah, I love that song. So
chills.
so while I was watching this movie, and I was watching it with the knowledge that you say you didn't like it, so I was like, all right, let me see if it's hyperbole on your end, or maybe it's true that it's bad. Here's the problem. Because I've been watching the older Bond movies with this sort of like, these are old movies goggles, and they wouldn't, most of them would necessarily work today on today's standards, with how filmmaking has got, except for like, the classics like On Her Majesty's Secret Service or Thunderball, which I thought was Terrence Young's, like, he went balls to the walls with that movie. Like, they kind of hold up. Yeah, I mean, some of it you could say, but they kind of hold up. While the other movies were like, it's made for its time, so you kind of forgive it that way. So I was trying to like, all right, watch this movie without hearing your voice, like, this movie sucks, and keeping on those goggles, like, this movie was made in the 70s, gotta give it a pass. So it's like, I couldn't come out of it one way or the other, whether this movie sucked or not. I mean, there are terrible stuff in the movie, but like I can't just say, oh well, it sucks because it was made in the 70s, or you know what, probably in the 70s would have been great if I saw it. So it's like I couldn't make up my mind in that front, but I will say that there are some dumb stuff in this movie. But before we get to that, let's get with some of the cast, because there's some stuff I want to talk about. So we mentioned Tiffany, Tiffany Case, played by Jill St. John's. Is she the first American main bod girl?
She might be. I think she is.
And she's a bit of a klutz. I think she's the weakest so far.
She's interesting because she starts out pretty cool. She's like thieving and she's like Catwoman.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as soon as she gets there's something in that Sean Connery D.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes her dumb.
Yeah.
And then she becomes a dummy for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, right. She was like a klutz.
Although I do have to admit that I did laugh when she machine gunned herself off the side of the. I was like, this is stupid, but okay, it made me laugh. So what am I gonna do? Be mad that I laughed at something that was supposed to be funny? Come on.
And continuing the harsh treatment of women in this, when he switched the tapes, and then put the the real tape in her bikini bottoms, thinking that she's supposed to switch it, and she runs to him. Oh yes, by the way, I switch it. Oh, you dumb wench! I already switched her. It's like, oh my god.
Like that. It's a good little moment, and it's funny how he gets so upset. But it's also like, girls are dumb.
Yeah,
is like the message of this movie.
So, there's
and that's obviously not true.
Yeah,
but that is what like the movie is conveying. Like, Tiffany's dumb. Plenty is pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Plenty. When I watched that movie as a kid, I did not get that joke. Named after your father, perhaps.
Well,
O'Toole.
Was that Peter O'Toole reference or no?
No, it was a reference to having a big dick.
Oh. I didn't.
Plenty O'Toole.
Oh right, got it now.
Named after your father, perhaps.
Oh yeah. And Plenty O'Toole, Lana Wood, played by Lana Wood.
Which itself is an erotic name.
Yeah.
They could have called her Plenty of Wood.
Right? And she's just a straight up gold digger. Like,
yeah.
Those characters, like, they would never put them in a modern movie nowadays.
Unless that movie was like The Hangover.
Right. But even, that's the thing. That's how quickly. Like, I think the period of the last 2 years have drastically changed. That you can look at a movie 2 years ago and say, oh, that movie would never be made. Today.
I think that it would still be made. It might not, be... It would still be made, but it would get, the flack that it deserves.
Right.
Like, you can look at these movies... like the Bond movies,
mm-hmm.
and you go, oh, what a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did it now, then you'd go, really? Now in 2019?
Mm-hmm.
2015, 2017, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And, stuff that is old hat at one time was not old hat. Stuff that's cliche was not cliche at a certain point
mm-hmm.
in time. And even if it was at least, not controversial in the way that it is now.
Yeah.
But this is all not giving excuses to Diamonds Are Forever, because Bond has had so much better female characterization in its past,
mm-hmm.
even before this.
Mm-hmm.
We just got off of Diana Rigg, who is fantastic.
Yep.
And Pussy Galore, although she's got her thing. Well, but we don't know how powerful the D is.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know. Like, that particular D has special powers that we don't know about.
He banged them stupid.
Yeah. Right in the brain. This
Oh
is
my
an
god.
X-rated podcast.
um. So, but what I will say about Tiffany is that yes, she was dumb, especially the latter half of the movie. But I'll say she's one of the Bond girls that appeared very early on and continued straight out to the movie.
Yeah, yeah, she is. She does feel like the second lead in the movie. Arguably, the second lead should be Blofeld, considering its context within the Bond series. But we'll get to that in a sec. But I think maybe the biggest problem is, I don't know how old Jill St. John was, if she was on the younger end or the older end, but she looks so young.
Yeah.
And she looks like she probably would have done better in an earlier Bond film. Like, she just not not ageist, but she doesn't play well with Sean for me.
Right.
I don't really believe them as a cover. And he looks. It's funny because Roger Moore gets so much older than Sean, and I personally can still believe, yeah, he could nail that. He could get with her. Where at this point, Sean, I look at Sean and it's like, he's still a good-looking guy. He takes his shirt off and you're like, not bad. I mean, he's got that chest hair. Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But you just see him and Jill St. John, or him and Lana Wood, and you're just like, she could do better.
I mean,
like she shouldn't have to have sex with James Bond's dad.
Like I would say this, like when the movie ends and it ends on the two of them, unlike the other Bond movies that kind of end with him and the girl. If you never saw another Bond movie, you could buy that they probably have at least a little relationship going. This one really ends like, yeah, whatever. It's just about the D, because the last line is like, how are we gonna get the diamonds down? She doesn't really care about that. And I like.
He doesn't care. We know that he doesn't care.
And I liked how they played off that, because she was like, before they got rudely interrupted, it looks like she was gonna have the conversation. It's like, I know it's too early to have this conversation. You expect the following would be like, oh, but do you love me? What do you think? What do you think of our future, right? But apparently, her big catharsis was, how are we gonna get this diamond down? So that shows.
They know, they have an arrangement. It's all about the D.
Yep.
Like again, he's an ancient 40-something at this point, which is hilarious to say, because that's not that old. That's just, we cannot understate how old Sean Connery looks in this movie. It's heartbreaking. Too much scotch. I think you were right.
Yep. The scotch, man.
I mean, it's considering that, it's a miracle he's alive now. Like, he must have changed his life or something at some point, because
Probably.
he looked so. Either that, or it's just the Scotch genes, the Scottish genes. They age fast, but then they stay.
Yeah, he probably it became a part of his DNA. He was just like, all right, we're equal now.
But also, some people just age early and then stay that way, and some people don't age. You got your Paul Rudds. But then you've got your
and for a while Tom Cruise, and then all of a sudden in the last 2 years he just like
and speaking of Tom Cruise, I think Top Gun Maverick is going to be the first movie where he's like, I'm playing an old character.
Yeah.
But just because he's old, not to say that Sean Connery's not still super hot. Like, some people find him super hot no matter what. And not just because it's like, oh, I remember you in Thunderball when you were at your hottest. It's just like, eyebrows notwithstanding, good-looking man.
I remember when I was watching the documentary when they're talking about, okay, so Diamonds Are Forever is his last movie, and they had like this whole montage of all the Bond ladies he's worked with, and they were just like, the one thing they always say, oh, he was a man. He's a virile man. It was like, I'm wondering if off screen they got a little bit down,
Well, possible. I mean, I don't know if he was married at the time. I'm not sure.
Well, he was married for at least one of them. I remember where they said his wife was hanging out with one of the Bond girls. So I know he was married at least for one of them.
I mean, it was the swinging '60s.
Yeah, yep.
Maybe, you know, who knows?
Yep.
But yeah, you know, Sean Connery was a sex symbol for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so even though this is the, you know, easily, I think we can both agree, his weakest effort
Mm-hmm.
in the role, and he himself, like, is clearly not caring as much as he had in the past. It's still the end of an era.
Yeah.
You know, things are going to be different now. And we'll get to that later, but you know, there's so much that's wrong with this movie. I'm not quite sure where to start, but I guess the two huge things are the goal. I guess the two huge things are the idea of getting back to Goldfinger
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and making it more American.
Right. Right.
So like making it more American is like, in theory, is not horrible.
Right.
I mean, because I think that they did that later on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they became, maybe if not more American, then just more global. I think that the Connery films and most of the Moore films were distinctly British.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe with starting with Timothy Dalton, they were much more global, and that kind of lends itself to Hollywood, because that's, you know, if there's one thing that we're actually good at
Mm-hmm.
on the world stage, it's making Hollywood movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that James Bond segued into that very well in the 90s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in time, I think it was too early to try to do that. I think that the Las Vegas car chase scene is done really well.
Yeah.
But in general, we go to a Bond movie looking for all these exotic locales, and where do they put us?
Las
In,
Vegas.
and most of the time, it's the desert outside of Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just doesn't work for me.
Right.
They're like, oh, well, let's do an American thing. Oh, let's have a moon buggy. So like Bond drives like the Aston Martin DB5, sweet cars forever until the BMWs, but we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put him in like a friggin' dune buggy that goes 15 miles an hour. And the cop cars just crash themselves. He's just driving in a straight line. That whole scene is an anemic. It's just a mess.
I enjoyed it a little bit, I guess. Other than the part where, I mean, they clearly, and they explain it in a documentary why the car had to switch this way when the car went onto.
That car is cool.
Yeah.
That car is cool.
He did the whole side thing. You know, it was a cool thing to do back in the early days of action scenes with car chases, have the car on two wheels. That was always cool.
That's cool. That works.
And then, of course, the French team made a mistake when they had to come back and reshoot. They came out on the other side, so they're like, all right, let's just, even though it makes no sense why that would happen.
Yeah, it makes no sense. He's just like, shift your weight over there.
Yeah.
And then, like, the camera movement is cool inside the car.
Yeah.
But, like, it makes no sense when he comes out
Yeah.
the other side. But, like, also, if they hadn't had that shot, we wouldn't have noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't have noticed that it came out on the other side.
Probably not.
You know, they just worried about things that we didn't need to worry about.
Yeah. So, before, we're about to talk about Blofeld, but before we do that, I want to say, like, we give, like, the X-Men films shit, right? For just, like, their continuity issues. It's like, they just don't give a shit, right? It's like, whatever, this character was supposed to be Emma Frost in that movie. Oh, no, this is the Emma Frost in this movie. And, this guy's supposed to be young Xavier, but in 10 years, he's going to look like Patrick Stewart. Don't worry about it, right? This guy's supposed to be...
Dark Phoenix set like 10 minutes before X-Men.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to transform.
And I still haven't even seen that movie yet.
Wasn't Sean Connery on the list to play Professor X back in the day?
I don't really remember. I think...
Or Magneto.
I'm not even sure. I know that they wanted Stewart because he looked like Xavier. Um,
I think Sean Connery was the first choice for Magneto.
yeah, probably.
That would have
Um,
been sweet.
that'd be good. That'd be good.
It would
So,
have been the only Scottish Jew.
all right.
Or the Scottish Pole. Would have been the only Scottish Polish person.
Yeah. So we talk about the whole continuity issues, like each movie just counteracts the next. Um, so you have Blofeld,
Yeah.
played by Charles Gray. But Charles Gray was in You Only Live Twice as one of the secret agents, whatever. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
With the wooden leg. So they bring him back for this movie as a completely different character. It's like, I mean, granted, I don't think in the 70s they had home video, so you won't remember shit like that. You'll just go in, it's like, oh, I guess that guy is Blofeld now.
Yeah, but it's just like it's weird. Like, and it's not something that stopped really. Like, I guess I don't know if they still do it now, but like in Miami Vice, John Leguizamo, one of his first roles was playing one of the big villains of that show. He was in only 2 episodes, but like 2 very distinct episodes as this one really important character.
Yep.
And then 2 seasons later, he shows up as just like the villain of the week, playing just a completely different character.
Yeah, I think in especially now in television, because especially binge watching a lot of these shows that had like 10 seasons, 14 seasons. They're actors that come back for different roles. I remember I was watching the OC, and there was a character in it that showed up for one episode, I think in like season 2, and then she came back for season 4. No, it wasn't the OC. It was Gilmore Girls. Gilmore Girls. She came out for a later season, like season 6, as a completely different character for more of a recurring role. So it's like, yeah, you see that happen a lot in television, especially the ones that have 22 episode seasons, where it's like, yeah, let's just bring that guy back, But you don't see that happen now with shows or movies, because it's just like the retention span in terms of like having these things on streaming services and not 22 episodes. It'll just be weird to just show up as a different character, unless it's on purpose, whatever. But yeah, but Blofeld, he comes back. By the way, the third actor to play him, third maybe, well, physically, because you had Donald Pleasance in the first one, then you had what's his name?
Charlie Savalas.
Yeah, as the second, and then the Charles Gray as the third.
Yeah, they had his voice and his silhouette in the past before that, but this is like the third real actor to play him.
And it begins with I guess, because how the last movie ended, they're trying to like, all right, this is his revenge spree. And then after that, he's just totally normal. It's like, whatever.
Like, it's really weird. I understand why they did it, because they didn't want to confuse viewers, A, who hadn't seen the previous film, and B, who just didn't want to deal with, continuity. So they're like, Bond is going after Spectre.
Yep.
But also, don't worry about why, it's not important.
Yeah.
Even though because they killed his friggin' wife, dude.
Yep. And they didn't mention it at all.
Yeah, her name is not uttered in that whole movie. And like the amount of time that's passed is not evident. Like it's not clear. Although giving Sean Connery's look, it's probably 20 or 30 years. He looks so old. But yeah, so he chases down Leeds, confronts Blofeld. At least they have a little bit of an explanation saying that he's done plastic surgery on his face, make himself look like Charles Gray now.
Yeah.
Wigs, so now he has hair. But boom, drowns some guy in mashed potatoes, then throws him into like, not lava, but like something or other.
And
plastic. I don't know.
so those were supposed to be doubles, I guess, right? All those
Yeah.
guys were doubles. um, and the end of the movie doesn't make it clear if Blofeld is dead or not, right?
No, he's totally alive. He just gets out. He's fine.
Yeah, because he's crashing them into the little mini sub, just banging them all over the place, and then just like he just jumps off the tanker. Every time I see those little tanker stuff, it was like, it reminds me of Big Shell, Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Cool setting, by the way. They got like a out of commission oil rig off the coast of I guess California.
Yeah, which was really good because they spent so much money to get Sean Connery back that none of the sets are like as huge and amazing as we've seen in the past. There's nothing that's like Piz Gloria or the volcano layer or even Fort Knox. Like, so there's a lot more location shooting. It's like a Spectre. It's like, what's our layer now? We're out in the desert. Oh wow! And what's in the desert? A couple buildings.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Ken Adams didn't have much work to do in this one.
Yeah. They're like, I was like, oh, what am I gonna get to design now? How about one room?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I'll design a couple of small rooms.
Yep.
Like the mortuary, and he does a good job. Like the the Blofelds, or not Blofelds, Willard White's, like room looks really cool. That elevator, there's still some good stuff there, but you can really tell that it's produced on a lower budget, even if it's not necessarily, but so much of that money went to getting Sean Connery.
Yeah, because the budget is $7.2 million, so 2 of that is Sean's, which leaves it with 5 to do whatever, hire the actors and then the production stuff.
And who knows I don't know how expensive Charles Gray was, and Jill St. John was a big, pretty big star at the time.
But it made more than on Our Majesty's Secret Service.
Those audiences are dumb.
Yeah, at the box office it made over 116 million worldwide. But like, yeah, it's it was back on track, I guess, for Eon. They're like, yay, we're back on track. But wasn't as good as on Our Majesty's Secret Service.
Nah, no way.
So then, other cast members: Jimmy Dean, the hot dog dude.
Yeah,
the hot dog dude.
Big Bad John.
Willard White.
He's actually really good in this.
Yeah. And it's funny because he was working for Howard Hughes at the time. Well, working with or for, I don't know, Dynamic, but he was playing a Howard Hughes type. And he was worried about what Howard Hughes might think of him. But they did it, and apparently Howard Hughes loved it because he gave them like carte blanche to do whatever they want in Vegas, like shut down Vegas for like 5 nights. That was great. Then we have, so the 2 sort of bad henchmen, Mr. Kip and
Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd.
Yeah, Kidd and Wint, right? So they're gay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Because I read up on the synopsis of the book after this, and they're in the books. They're supposed to be gay thugs or whatever, right? But I didn't know going into this they were supposed to be gay until like they did the whole skipping with the handhold. I was like, wait, are they supposed to be gay? No, let me not judge. And then he's like, he says the line like, "Oh, she's pretty attractive for a woman."
A girl, for a woman.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, so they're supposed to be gay. And on my mind, I was just thinking, all right, because this is supposed to be pretty big. It's a big budget movie, and there's a gay character in it. So I'm thinking, this is me picturing the conversation behind the scenes. I was like, guys, are you gonna put some gay characters in this movie? Don't worry about it. They're playing the bad guys. Don't worry about it. They're the bad guys. I was like, all right, okay. As long as they're the bad guys, that's fine, right? This is the only way I think they probably got away with it in such the early times.
Yeah, and it was controversial for having gay characters at all even though they were arguably pretty homophobically portrayed in some. What was really interesting watching it this last time was like, it's still pretty bad, but not quite as scathingly homophobic as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, because
Pretty bad.
apart from
as,
the
yeah.
apart from the skipping scene when they're holding hands, for the most part they were just
Well, I don't mind. I kind of
normal.
like the skipping scene.
It was.
They really like each other.
Yeah,
They're
it was
just like a bunch of psychopathic gay people.
Right.
It's great. Like that's cool. Like we have psychopathic straight people. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But their death scenes are horrible. Like yeah, they gotta die horribly, but like specifically, like give them a gay death is really weird.
Oh, well, flaming.
Well, like he sets them on fire.
Yeah,
flaming is the slang term.
Yeah.
And then he practically shoves a bomb up the other guy's butt.
Yeah.
And it's also shot very poorly when he like flips him over the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And he blows up. But I want to say for the most part it's fine, but they did it before Marvel did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Marvel had to wait 23 freaking movies to put in a gay person, and then he's in it for like 5 seconds as a cameo from the director.
Yeah.
and then they want headlines being like, "We're so brave. We put a gay movie in our $2 billion blockbuster for 5 seconds." And Kevin Feige's patting himself from the back. Look how progressive we are. Oh my God, we're so great. Forget about how I made them cut the Valkyrie scene from Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
I confirmed that she was bi.
And they also cut a scene in Endgame, even though it was improv, where Thor is about to kiss Valkyrie, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Right? Oh, I thought this was a moment here. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
Like when he made her king. They were have a whole conversation, like they were getting closer and closer, and then he made to go kiss her, and she's just like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I misread the signals."
That's funny.
So they cut that. But yeah, they're the Mr. Kid and Mr. what again? Mr. White, Wint
and Kid.
Right. Played by I have their names here.
Crispin Glover's dad.
Yeah, it looks like him, right?
Well, he is Crispin Glover's dad.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And,
no, he's not.
Really,
you're lying.
No, he totally is.
Oh wow.
And a super famous jazz bass player.
Mm-hmm.
Who's also in played on a lot of Phil Spector records.
Oh, it is Bruce Glover.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't kidding.
and
I'm not joking.
And Putter Smith.
I never joke about my work.
Yeah, they fucking look alike.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Putter Smith, and they're really good together. Like they have genuine chemistry.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like their character though. It was just like this funny and there's a specific a theme that John Barry does every time they're on screen, to the point where you'd hear a theme before they show up, and it's like, oh, those guys are about to show up. And it was like a really smart little cue that John Barry did, especially like at the end where they're on the ship and the camera is panning. You hear the theme come in before you see them, and it's like, oh, these guys again, right? I like the little dynamic and how they were just killing everybody that holds the diamonds.
Yeah, I think they could have done a lot better if they were in a better Bond movie.
Right.
If they were in one that came a little earlier or a little later, I think that they would not be looked upon so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was also the campiest one up to this point.
Right.
Like, it's not the campiest one that we'd ever get. They'd get there. But it's the first one that's much more outright comedic from the start, and they kind of add to that in a way.
Yeah.
Where I think that if they were done, where they fit in more in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If they were done in a movie where they didn't fit in as well, like one that was a little bit more straight. Oh boy, that's not what I meant. That was played a little less campy.
Yeah.
They would have a better contrast, and they would maybe come across better.
Like, I almost seen their. I think I've seen like their archetype in later films where it's like this very dark movie. You have these sort of double characters, like sort of duo villains, and they're just like psychotic. Like almost probably this was like sort of the first one of its kind to like influence those other films that I've seen later. Like I can't name them off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've seen movies with that type of characters that are just going around doing psychotic shit, but you're just not. They're playing it very like not evil. They're playing dudes. But this, yeah, you know, I enjoyed their characters a lot.
I could see a young Joe Carnahan seeing this movie and being like,
yeah. And then next up, another actor, Norman Burton, plays Felix in this movie. And it's funny, right? We're getting to the point.
Felix.
We're getting to the point where, because they know like they change Felix all the time, Bond has to say the name Felix. Hey, Felix. So okay, that's Felix. It's like as soon as he comes on the screen, yeah. So Felix. It's like, all right, okay, that's Felix.
Yeah. Who does nothing in this movie?
Yeah, it doesn't.
He's in it for like 2 minutes. That could have been anyone. They should have just made it. It's just some CIA guy, or you could be like, Felix sent me.
Yeah.
He didn't want to show up for this one.
So how? I'm curious about this now. So I'm gonna talk about these actors right here. So you have Desmond Llewellyn as Q, and Lois Maxwell is Moneypenny, and Bernard
Hardly.
Bernard
yeah,
Lee
Desmond
as
Llewellyn committing international money laundering or whatever.
Yeah.
International espionage by stealing from the casino with his gadget.
Yeah, right. So
like, hey, you're gonna start a war, dude.
So it's like Miss Moneypenny only has one scene in this movie. So I'm wondering, because nowadays, you know, actors, they're like, listen, man, if you don't give me a meaty role, I'm not coming back for this thing, right? It's like these people love the franchise so much. It's like they'll just show up. I'll just show up, whatever. It's like 2 seconds of screen time. I admire their dedication to the roles. It's like she's just in this one scene where she's telling Bond like, you give me some diamonds, you know, particularly the one with around the ring. And it's like, settle for a tour, and she's like, I would. That was the only thing I would say about that scene, right? Coming from on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I'm sure they didn't have this in mind, but I would love. I in my head I'm like, she's almost relieved that he's free again.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like, hey, do you want to buy me a wedding ring? Because your wife is dead?
Yeah.
You're basically like, money, true.
But yeah, I was just curious about how they actually felt about just like, we're doing another Bond movie. How many scenes I'm in? It's just that one scene. Whatever, you know.
Yeah, her role in this movie is also another like byproduct. Like her reduced role is a byproduct of, you know, not trying to erase on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at this point in time, they'll come back to it later, but at this point in time, they're just like, we don't know what to do with this movie that comparatively nobody watched,
mm-hmm.
and that we don't know, you know, we don't want to be a direct sequel to, because then that'll scare away viewers who haven't seen that one.
Mm-hmm.
And we all, you know, different actor, blah blah blah. And Moneypenny and him had such great, like, their moments together are probably some of the best moments in all of James Bond, period.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he grabs her butt.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to do with that, so let's do like a bit where she like pretends that he was never married, kind of, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is weird.
Yeah.
And I bet she, I mean, she was at this point, she was probably just like, whatever, I'll come in and do the scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine she probably would have preferred something like, hey, let's actually build off of that previous movie.
Yeah.
Instead of having like an implied reference to it by Bond, you know, going after Blofeld.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ah.
And apparently, speaking of Blofeld, like, so they brought Guy Hamilton back, who did Goldfinger. The original idea was that it would have been Goldfinger's brother who was the main villain in this movie.
Which I believe probably would have been a better direction to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you're going to ignore On Her Majesty's Secret Service, then why use the villain from that movie?
Right.
And if, like, they got Guy Hamilton, they want to do Goldfinger 2, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
like, do Goldfinger 2. Especially, he fits in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And
And so Guy Hamilton did a gold movie. Now he's about to do a diamond movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, but whatever.
It works, and like you can see a lot of that. Another, like, really, we haven't mentioned it yet, but the huge real blow to this movie is just the absence of the creative team that made the previous movies so great.
Mm-hmm.
No Terrence Young, he's done, he's out.
Yeah.
Not even like they do now, where it's like, oh, stay on as producer just to collect that paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, nah, he's just gone. And Peter Hunt, same deal. He could have stayed on as producer. Apparently, the legend is that either that he was out. There's a bunch of different stories as to why he was out.
Mm-hmm.
I think the official one is just he had scheduling conflicts.
Right.
But who knows? But with those two people gone,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a void. And Guy Hamilton, his style, bless him, is very flat. He does not shoot action the way they did.
Right.
And
even though I did like that elevator fight scene, that was pretty cool though.
yeah, and that is probably the best fight in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one that's like the most like something that they would have shot.
Yeah.
And it feels so out of place in this movie because it's so good. Because it's so unlike the action in any of Guy Hamilton's other Bond movies. I mean, he's got 2 more to come.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got Goldfinger. And this is just a completely different style. And it's a good fight. And then, he throws him off the ledge. And I think part of that is Sean Connery. I think Sean Connery really sells that fight. I think Guy Hamilton got lucky when he did Goldfinger, and I think he got lucky when he was like, hey, let's put a fight inside the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean Connery's just like, yes, this is like the bar brawls I used to have yesterday. And was just like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And they did it.
So, speaking of lucky, I would say this movie's the luckiest Bond has ever been in. And I always hated movies like that. I mean, you got away with that earlier because that was just how movies, the plot went in movies, where a lot
I know what scene you're talking about. Continue.
There's so many of them though, so it could be one of them that I'm talking about.
The one that pisses me off the most is when they try to set him on fire.
Yes,
That's the one you're thinking of the most.
Yeah.
And they even talk about it on the commentary, where they're like, we got to find out the snake pit scene that they always talk about. We're always thinking of different snake pits, being a situation where you put the hero in peril, and then the audience, they know that he's not going to die, but they spend 20 seconds being like, how the heck is he going to get out of this? And you're like, oh, what's he going to do? And the answer is, he's going to do nothing. And Dean Martin's uncle is gonna find him.
Yeah, it was like,
and I think he really is Dean Martin's uncle.
Is he?
It's also another real thing. Yeah, they just, it's
it was just, they just find him. It was like, it was like, okay.
Like, if that guy hadn't come in,
he would have been dead.
Would have died.
Because there's nothing in, like, what could he have done? There was, unless he had some gadget, which, whatever. But there would have been nothing, right? Nothing. Like, he can't bust open that thing because the fire is outside. He would have been toasted. And when that happened, I was like, oh, that's how you're gonna do it? Okay, all right.
Yeah, and have like a water gun.
Yeah. And then the other thing I'm talking about is, and this is the worst yet, like, Blofeld just pretty much tells him his plan word for word, just like, oh my god, this is how you get pirated, people. Like,
This is the movie that is parodied the most in Austin Powers.
he's just like, word for okay, this is how I'll do it. Oh, and here's the tape that will do it. I'm gonna leave it right here. Somebody's definitely gonna pick it up, but I'm gonna leave it right here. It's like, oh my god.
He doesn't do any. He doesn't.
And then like
that. Yeah.
Shoot. Okay, so all right, what was the deal, right? So he tells Bond, go ahead in that elevator. Instead of he has the gun, shoot him. He's like, no, go in the elevator so I can spray knockout gas on you. Not gas that will kill you, knockout gas. Okay, once you get him, just dump him in a little random pipe. And he's not dead, and the pipe will be just there. So what were they expecting? What they thought was gonna happen? The machine thing, was that their thing, that the machine would come and crush him or something like that? Like,
yeah, it's the kind of stuff that Bond is misunderstood to have going on in every single movie.
Yeah, it's just...
And it doesn't happen in every single movie, but it happens in this one. It happens every now and then. It happens a couple times.
Yeah.
But it happens in this one to the point of parody. To the point of self-parody.
Even in the whole mashed potato sequence, right? He's like slowly raising the gun. Shoot him! It's like...
And then, the scene you were talking about before, these two Blofelds.
Right.
They got him outnumbered.
Yes! Oh.
Two cats. Well, it's really funny when he kicks the cat. And in Connery's defense, it is a good kill when he shoots Blofeld with the piton gun.
Yeah.
And he like gets shot and like takes a moment to be like, oh god, I have brain damage, and then he falls down. That always was like, ooh, it's a really violent kill.
So I got a question. So that scene where he's sneaking into the top of the top floor of the hotel, whatever, and he drops down on the throne. Was that a toilet?
No, I don't think so.
Because he had like the roll. He had the roll things. He was looking, had the rolls like it's a toilet roll. And when he got up, I was kind of looking. I was to see if there's a little circular thing.
I'd have to look. I'd have to look again to see, but I don't think so.
I think there's a toilet, man. You look again. I think that was a toilet.
You might be right.
Oh my god. Because earlier you saw a guy sitting there watching the whole thing. So I was like, oh, he has a bunch of monitors while he's on the throne taking a shit.
It very well could be.
But yeah, that was hilarious. Yes, okay, so the plot is they're getting a bunch of diamonds because they wanted to create a laser. Again, to, I guess,
you mean a laser?
Yeah. To start another war? Again? Between...
I don't friggin' know. It's, he wants to, and he's like, I'm going to use the laser on the cities. And it's...
and what... Because... Was he asking for So was he asking for money?
He's just holding the world ransom. It is like a boilerplate doomsday plot of what it's Austin Powers.
Yeah.
It's if you don't give me all the money, I will laser the city.
Yeah.
I'll laser one city every day until our demands are met.
God.
He doesn't say that, but it does nothing to advance the story from, it turns the whole Spectre story that's been driving these movies into like a joke.
Yeah.
It makes them silly, like, and Blofeld himself with his little cigarette and the little cigarette holder, which was fancy at the time, but it just makes him dainty and not like intimidating.
Yeah.
Like Telly Savalas was scary. Like you believed that he could fight Bond hand to hand. And he does a little.
Yeah.
And this Blofeld, you believe that like if he got into a hand to hand fight with Bond, he would just surrender immediately. I think he was poorly. I don't think he was miscast because I think that there was potential there for him to be a Bond villain.
Yeah.
Just not that one.
Yeah, just make him another villain. Just the craziness of just like you had so many shots to kill this guy, and then when he's Because he made him so comical, like when he's in the mini sub. Put me down, you clout! Put me down! What are you doing? It's like, it's just so comical. It's just not even funny.
I mean, I guess in one way they wanted to go in a different direction, and I cannot fault them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I've been wanting for the Daniel Craig movies to go in a more lighthearted direction,
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't yet. Like maybe at this point, but the Sean Connery and George Lazenby movies had such a balance of like, we're gonna be serious, but we're also gonna be kind of tongue in cheek. We're gonna have some humor here, but we're also gonna be super like deadly serious when it's important, when we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
That you could see, Guy Hamilton came on and was like, I want to make the movie more chill.
Yeah.
I want to make something more funny, something, even though he kills all the girls. Even though it has some like not violent, but like cruel moments in its violence. He wanted to make something more lighthearted, and so he succeeded in that. Not necessarily succeeding in making a good movie or a good Bond movie, or a good successor to Goldfinger as it was supposed to be. Because even though I give Goldfinger flack, it's still a great movie.
Right.
And this is, I feel like it's the first terrible Bond movie, and probably my least favorite in the series.
Oh, so you dislike this more than Skyfall? Interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, I feel about Skyfall kind of the way I feel about Goldfinger, although I don't think Skyfall is nearly as good as Goldfinger. Skyfall is definitely in my bottom half.
Okay.
Probably my bottom 6.
Okay.
I'd have to. I don't know where my ranking would rank. But that's a discussion we'll get to in 15 more weeks or so.
Yeah. Yeah, so what else about this movie that we can mention? You had the fight scenes with the gymnasts. This is pretty cool, I guess.
That was hot.
Yeah.
Except then, like, their weakness is water.
Yeah.
Apparently. Like, as soon as they go into the water, he's just like, "Oh, I've got you now." Which is a really funny image.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, is this bad? I'm like, I don't know if this is bad or not, because like I think it's funny. Like, is this sexist? I don't know. Is it objectively bad? Although nothing is objectively bad, and people who say stuff is objectively bad are idiots.
Yeah.
But like, is this dumb? Is this awful? I don't know.
Probably.
But I'm having a good time. It's like the good moments in a Michael Bay movie where you're like, am I trash for liking this? and he's just got their heads underwater, and then he lets them out for like 2 seconds, and then puts them back under, and it's just like, I'm in. Okay. I don't know what this says about me, but I'm having a good time.
And what is it with Blofeld and trying to get James Bond's woman to fall in love with him? Like, he has her. You're thinking like, oh, he's gonna do some torture to her or something like that. Next time you see her, she's sunbathing. It's like, okay.
He wants to be Bond.
It was like, oh my god.
He's jelly. No, because he's actually his secret brother, or some stupid shit.
Is that that's what happened in? Because I haven't seen Spectre in a long time. That's what happened in Spectre, right? And it's funny, because Austin Powers parodied James Bond and made Gold. What's his name? Gold member. No, it's Dr. Evil and Austin Powers.
It's the exact same twist. Like, it's done slightly differently because they're adopted brothers in Spectre. Yeah. But, like, it's the same fucking twist.
Mm-hmm.
We are actually brothers, Mr. Bond. We're not so different, you and I. See, I did say it. But, oh God. Oh, my head. Oh, it hurts.
Well, hey, at least that's bringing it back to the campiness, no?
Man, Spectre has Spectre has some of my favorite moments of Daniel Craig as Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And then halfway through that movie, it just takes a complete 180 and just goes like, what if we suck? And just runs with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, that's a conversation for 15, 17 weeks from now.
Yeah. Yeah, so what else? I guess that's all there is to Diamonds Are Forever.
That's more. We've given more time to this movie than it deserves.
Came out in December 1971. We didn't mention that. Made it was like 2 hours. 2 hours and 8 minutes, I think. This.
Like that.
Yeah, this says 120 minutes, but I remember when I checked how much time is left after the opening sequence, it was like 8 minutes had passed and there's 2 hours still left. So I think 2 hours and 8 minutes.
It's like we said, it's the end of an era. It's Sean Connery's last official movie as James Bond.
Yeah.
We'll get to Never Say Never Again, although that one I have not seen since I was a kid. So I'm actually looking forward to watching that again. We'll see if it gets its own episode or if we do it alongside Octopussy. We'll see. I mean, that'll be Roger Moore's 6th time, so we might not have that much to say about it.
Yeah.
So maybe there'll be a good 2-in-1 or something. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But, I guess it's a good time to be like, sayonara, Sean. If it wasn't for him, we would not be having this conversation. I genuinely believe that if anyone else had played Bond first, it
probably wouldn't have been as successful or iconic.
Yeah. I think that he was so perfect. He was exactly what that character needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
He was, he's still considered the definitive James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Even if other people like other actors better, and sometimes I like Roger Moore better,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes I even like Pierce better. Every once in a while, when like the moon is like, nah, I still don't like Daniel Craig better. But Sean did such a perfect job, but he also, in the years since then, I'm thinking of Solo. I'm thinking of how uninterested I was in Solo.
Right.
And how when I saw that movie, I was blown away by how good Alden Ehrenreich was.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my god, he made me believe. This movie's making me believe. I really, really love that movie.
Yeah, and even to some extent, Ewan McGregor, when he took over Obi-Wan, a lot of people are like, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I'd argue not as iconic.
Uh-huh.
Obi-Wan, especially since we only know him as an old man.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'd say I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Solo is the On Her Majesty's Secret Service of Star Wars movies.
Yeah, you think give it a few years, people are gonna come around to it?
I think people have already come around to it. I remember on this past Memorial Day, people were going. There was like a hashtag for like the first year of Solo.
Yeah.
They're like, "Where's Solo 2?" And it's like, "We want Solo 2." And it's like, well, you should have seen Solo.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna get Guy Hamilton to direct the next one. Whoa, shit! They kind of did. They got J.J. Abrams to come back.
Oh, right.
Not that I love J.J. Abrams' movies and his Star Wars movies especially.
Yeah.
Force Awakens. I think Force Awakens is excellent, and I think people who give it shit are nitpicky or babies.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little reverential. But it's that whether it is or not, it looks like course correction.
Yeah.
Diamonds Are Forever was an attempt at course correction.
Mm-hmm.
We're onto something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Which it makes me sad too, because like I love the Last Jedi. I'm like, all those people complaining, like, come on. I mean,
Last Jedi is my favorite Star
yeah,
Wars.
so it's like a double-edged sword for me. It's like bringing JJ back. I'm happy with it, but I hate the fact that some idiot will probably. I mean, even if it's true, like they're like, oh yeah, see, they're course correcting. They brought JJ back. It was like,
Yeah, I learned. Okay, so in my experience doing interviews at Screen Rant,
mm-hmm,
I've learned that the narrative that is easy to, you know, it's easy to connect dots that don't exist.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So the narrative is Colin Trevorrow is terrible. He's
Right.
a bad director, and you know that because after Jurassic World, he did like his indie movie
Yeah,
that people didn't like.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but
Yeah,
apparently
me neither. I don't even remember the Book of Henry.
yeah, Book of Henry. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and apparently he was horrible on that. So like, and the movie bombed after we talked about how horrible it was.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it was bad, and he was bad. I don't know if the movie is bad or not. I have no interest in watching it.
Yeah.
But then he leaves episode 9,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone goes, oh well, see, there you go. It's because he's so horrible. But then they sign him up to do Jurassic World 3.
Right.
So like maybe chill out. Like they wouldn't put him in front of, the only, aside from maybe Fast and Furious, the biggest non-Disney movie franchise in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about, I interviewed Vincent D'Onofrio
Mm-hmm.
when he did this movie The Kid, which was a Western
Right.
starring himself, Ethan Hawke, and Chris Pratt,
Mm-hmm.
all of whom were in The Magnificent Seven.
Right.
And the first thing I asked him was like, this movie kind of, came out of Magnificent Seven, right? And he's like, no. I had this actor in mind early on. I had this actor in mind, but hadn't met him yet.
Mm-hmm.
And this actor is my best friend, and we're in stuff together all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Him and Ethan Hawke. He didn't say best friend. Maybe they're best friends, maybe they're not. But
Mhm.
I was like, it's so funny because you can look at these dots and connect them. And he's like, yeah, I know, but it just kind of happened to work out that way. This script was written before I had signed on to do Magnificent Seven.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened to work out that we shared some of the same cast.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you could go in and pretend to be a detective and go, oh, well, the same actors are in both movies, so obviously this was made as a response to that. It's like, well, what do you know? You've got, that's why it's called circumstantial evidence,
Mm-hmm.
pal. Like, some internet blogger thinks they know everything. Oh, they're
Yeah.
going to put it on YouTube. Obviously, this is the case. I have red string connecting a picture to another picture, so I must be right.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Just
No, I kid. What's this podcast?
Yeah, it's just, I hate that whole people just making up decisions on the internet, like, oh yeah, and it's like, oh, just relax. What I hope is that the last Jedi will be recognized for what it is in the future, that it was a great movie, even though it's harder for movies like that nowadays because of the internet. It's like the cry was so loud, and during the social media era that it's just, you already labeled that movie, and it's almost forever
so
labeled like that.
So loud, but from such a small group of people.
Yeah.
But if they keep on screaming, then no one will go, wait, how big is that group of people? They go, I don't know, but they're really loud.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's like they can't even think, like, okay, if everybody hated The Last Jedi, why would it make $1.2 billion dollars? Like, anytime a movie makes over $1 billion, that's repeated viewing. That's not just opening weekend plus subsequent people who hadn't seen the movie. Like, $1 billion is repeated viewings. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's everything becomes a meme. It's internet culture of like, just repeat the same line long enough. Let's put it this way: there are people out there who still believe that Donald Trump had the biggest inauguration crowd of any president.
Oh my god! Even when the evidence is staring them in the face.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's fake news. That was digitally, or the camera angle was off. He had more people around the other sides than. It's like,
I mean, he set that precedent on day one of his presidency, and we've seen it.
Yep.
Across all media, across Star Wars, and across video games and across just everything of
Yeah.
people saying, "Oh, you're just an SJW."
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
like,
just make,
yeah, well, go fuck yourself.
or just like something that was mentioned in like out of context, then a headline runs with it, and then some idiot says, like when you're talking about something to someone who doesn't really know anything about a particular project that's being worked on, and they're like, but I thought this movie was doing this, or I thought this actor was like, no, that was just some rumors. Like, oh my god, this is how powerful it is. It's like when like for instance the whole Brie Larson situation, right? With her saying like, I just want more inclusion with the female journalists. How did that go from I want more female journalists to Brie Larson hates men? It's like, how did that happen? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just like,
exactly. It's not new, but with the internet and Twitter and social media, it's so pervasive.
Yeah.
Like, just the fact that we're talking about Diamonds Are Forever shows that this like course correction and like misconceptions are nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're looking at these movies right now with the benefit of 30, 40 years, 40 years of hindsight.
Yep.
Almost 50. And going, wow, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is 10 out of 10, and Diamonds Are Forever is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna look back at stuff and feel maybe the same way. And with social media and Facebook and everything being online, we're gonna look back on it, and people are gonna go, "Oh, I wasn't part of that," and they're gonna go, "I don't know. I've got the tweets. I've got the Wayback Machine."
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy to go, "Oh man, if I was in the Civil War, obviously I would have fought on the Union."
Yeah.
"Oh man, if I was in 60s South, I would have supported civil rights." But it's like, I don't know, man. You've got a picture of yourself with the MAGA hat.
Yeah. Oh my god!
I don't think you would have.
I saw this video on Twitter. It's this old lady and I guess her daughter or maybe her granddaughter singing this song about Donald Trump. They're like,
I saw the first 2 seconds of that video and was just like, I'm out.
It was so scary. It's like I couldn't. You ever watch some scary shit, but you just like can't look away? I was like, because you can't imagine, you can't believe it's happening, and I was like,
I'm too scared, so I look away.
I was just like watching it. I was like, wait, what's that? Because I'm trying to look, because you can't look at people and try to break them down. You don't know, But I almost wanted to do that. I almost wanted to just like, let me look at this person and see what this person is like. Personality wise, what is this person thinking? And I'm like watching it and I'm like, that just happened. Oh my god.
Yeah.
With the MAGA hat and everything. I was like, oh my god.
Because when you wear those symbols, when you put on the MAGA hat or when you put on the Nazi freaking armband, you make the decision, like you said, what are they thinking? They make the decision not to think and just to follow.
Yeah.
And it's something that has been a problem throughout history and will continue to be a problem throughout history. And the solution is education and knowledge and listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
You should all listen to this podcast.
Not be so reactionary, like, oh, jump the gun, because that's how Diamonds Are Forever comes along.
Diamonds Are Forever got made.
Like,
and some people would argue the next one even worse.
The one Roger Moore's first.
Oh yeah.
Live and Let Die. So it's not as good. Oh my god.
Some people. I say we'll see how I feel about it next time. Next week, but pre this podcast. My feeling was Diamonds Are Forever is the worst, and Live and Let Die is right behind it.
Wow.
Same director.
Yeah, because he's about to do the next one and the one after that, right? The Spy
and Man with the Golden Gun.
Right.
The Spy Who Loved Me is Lewis Gilbert.
Oh, okay.
Who did You Only Live Twice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Spy Who Loved Me is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Like top 3.
And then so I'm wondering now with the whole reactionary thing, because let's take a look at, even though we haven't gotten to him yet, but just a quick look at Daniel Craig. So he did Casino Royale, which in a sense is like we're bringing Bond to like the Jason Bourne era of.
Before Jason Bourne,
wasn't Jason
Batman
Bourne?
Begins. Batman, no, it wasn't before it, but
yeah.
Casino Royale was done as a reaction to Batman Begins.
Right.
They said,
yeah.
"Ooh, Batman Begins was like a reboot.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do a reboot."
Yeah.
And in a way, that's kind of one of the good things about Bond,
mm-hmm.
is that Bond just looks at whatever's cool and
mm-hmm.
is just like, or whatever's gonna be cool,
mm-hmm.
and is like, let's do that.
Yeah.
So like, that's why another big part of why I don't like Skyfall is that it does what Casino Royale did, except so poorly copying someone else. Whereas Casino Royale, in my opinion, already did the Christopher Nolan thing,
mm-hmm.
but did it James Bond style, baby.
Yeah, and then Skyfall was just straight up Dark Knight.
Yeah, Skyfall does the Christopher Nolan thing straight up Christopher Nolan style.
Yeah.
But with a director who isn't as good at action. But Quantum of Solace, that's the one that copies Jason Bourne.
Yes.
They got the same second unit director. I forget what his name is, but the same second unit director as the Bourne movies.
Mm-hmm. And then, do you think Spectre is a reaction to anything? Because I guess.
I think Spectre is a reaction to Skyfall making $1 billion and them saying, let's just do that again.
Yeah.
So whether or not people like it, and I know that I'm in the minority of people
mm-hmm.
who don't necessarily like Skyfall,
mm-hmm.
But again, like, it's James Bond. It's like Star Wars to me. Like, even the bad ones, I love them.
Yes.
Like, if someone said, do you want to watch Diamonds Are Forever? I'd be like, yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think we're gonna get out? And I'm sure I'm gonna like ask this question again. What do you think we're gonna get out of Bond 25? Like,
I think I hope Daniel Craig has a little more control over this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, this is just speculation.
Because I think that the whole concept of Christopher Nolan style, I think that's almost old now.
Yeah.
And movies like The Kingsman, I guess, prove that you can do outlandish Bond type movies, but I don't think they'll go that far. So it's like,
I don't think they should necessarily go that far. I don't need Bond to go to space again.
Yeah.
But like underwater lair, I'd be into that.
Yeah, like, because we haven't had a lair in any of the Craig movies, right?
Like they had a Nolan style lair in Spectre with the desert compound.
Right.
But it's like, that's a shitty lair.
Yeah.
I honestly think that the desert hotel from Quantum of Solace was a better lair.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, and it was more exotic. It was cool. And then Spectre's just like, it's a desert again. 2 movies later.
Yeah, and then another thing I'm worried about Bond 25 is gonna be that, because I see it happening already. Number one, by bringing Philippa Waller-Bridges to Phoebe Waller-Bridges. Bridge, not Bridges, because I have the same last name.
You're related.
Probably. By bringing her on to do rewrites, I already see like the headlines, like the people who are against that, just like, oh, so it started, and then the whole thing about female Bond, 007 is like, oh, so Shauna Lynch is playing 007. It's like, it doesn't matter, but it's like, I see it already.
Yeah. Those headlines are already all over the place. So Shauna Lynch is the new James Bond. And it's like, no, if you know anything about James Bond, you know that 007 is not his name.
Yeah.
and the press release specifically said she's playing 007.
Yeah. Yep.
James Bond is not necessarily 007, especially not when he's retired.
Yeah,
no one's gonna call him when he's retired and go, "Hey, 007."
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I see it. It's like, I think this movie is gonna be under the knife of a lot of YouTube videos, just like talking mad shit. Like, oh my god.
And Bond should like lean into that and be like, hey, you, fuck you. Like, because Bond, even though he's so straight-laced and such a, Her Majesty's Royal Terrier, as he's been called, you know, when he sees bad guys, he smacks them around. And, the movie should lean into that and be like, like Kingsman had the fight scene in the white supremacist church.
Yeah.
That was freaking awesome. I want Bond to like go up against Spectre, who are also the Klan.
Yeah, like
do that.
It's in this era. Is like I almost feel like, because if you make a Bond too safe, it'll just be a bland Bond, right? Like, say what you will about these older Bond movies and how like maybe they're campy or maybe they're just like of its time or whatever, but they have such an identity. It's like it's Bond, right? Like
there's always something about them, even the most straight ones like From Russia with Love.
Yeah,
there's always something about them that makes them timeless,
right? So it's like, if you try to make a Bond movie to satisfy everyone, I don't think that's the way to go, because then you'll just, why make a Bond movie? Just make a movie with a character in it and just have him, not be Bond, right?
Yeah,
it's like
one of Bond's biggest strengths is how he's always been this balance of of its time and timeless.
Right. That exactly. So, and that's what I worry about Bond. That's why when I brought that whole thing up to you in the second podcast, maybe, or the first one, on how, a lot of stuff wouldn't fly today. And I don't expect it to, right? I don't expect it to fly where he's banging like 10 women in one movie.
Right, and I think,
he's dealing with a bunch of airheads.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was a quote or just a headline, but it was something like, in Bond 25, the treatment of characters will change, but Bond's treatment of those characters will not change.
Right. Yeah, I think it was Phoebe was that's one of the questions I think they asked her too, was like, is it that he's all of a sudden will Bond become a feminist or something along the lines, and she was like, just because I'm on doesn't mean like it's going to change the way how he is.
Yeah, she's a writer. It's like people are so dumb. Like, these are the same people who got like upset when they cast whoever as whoever because they don't have the right hair color. Right. Like, how can you cast this person as this person when they don't have, or how do you cast Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow? She doesn't even have red hair. They invented something called wigs and hair dye. It's like, how are you gonna get Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is like a girl and did this famous show that everybody loves called Fleabag, that like is about a girl, and it's like, well, she can write about other things too. She can write about whatever she wants. She has a pencil. Yep. You can do anything with a pencil.
Shit, Killing Eve is a great show. She wrote that.
And she's in Star Wars. She's in Solo, the greatest movie of all time.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I hope they just don't, get bullied by all these voices and just say, hey, we're making a Bond movie. And when you watch it, it feels like a Bond movie and not like a reactionary to, the criticisms of Bond for the last 50 years.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, they're gonna get bullied. They just have to stand. They have to do what we're supposed to do, what free and just people are supposed to do, and stand up to those bullies and go, no, you sit down. Like,
I'll almost be upset if Bond doesn't sleep with at least one woman in the next movie.
I'll be mad if he doesn't punch a girl in the face. I'm kidding.
Oh my god. You haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet, have you?
I have not yet, but I'm going to very soon.
So I would, I would, but Jesus Christ.
Oh, I bet there's some girl punching in that movie. I have no doubt.
Girl punching? Oh my god, that's Elizabeth.
Okay. I'll get to it.
But yeah, I almost it's like Quentin. I like Quentin. Quentin is like, fuck your hypotheses. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it. Like, you can't be constrained by what someone on Twitter is gonna think. They're like, oh well, if I make this movie that wins 10 Oscars, if someone sends me a DM on Twitter saying that, can we talk about this scene in your movie? Then, oh, poor me. I guess I did something wrong.
Yeah, I think we're giving too much, and I think you know what it is. I almost was upset. I am upset with Kevin Hart for not doing the Oscars because of the noise. Because you right there, you gave power to the Twitter. You gave power to them, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're ceding so much power to them in this day and age. It's like if you so you make a movie where everybody's complaining about it. What are they gonna do? They have no power unless they say, "All right, I'm not gonna see the next project you do," which 9 times out of 10 they don't. They end up going right. It's like the only thing they can do is just bitch on the internet. That's about it, right? You know,
and it's up to journalists, like the people. Like, really, the people who are bitching on the internet are journalists. They're people like me, people like you, people like, you know, whoever is at all the sites that we like. Like, they're the only people who are on Twitter. Like, if, like, your aunt is on Twitter, what's she doing there?
Yeah, it's...
Like, there's anything there. But, like, what's so important is that we, with the limited power that we do have, choose our battles.
Right.
Like, there's 2 parts to the news. You know, we report the news and we editorialize on it. We go, this is happening, and then we choose whether or not we're going to go, here's what we think about this. We go, microtransactions are in a game. That's the facts.
Yep.
And then we go, do we want to write a story about how microtransactions in any game that you've already paid for are freaking BS? And we choose to fight that battle.
Yeah. And
sometimes that will win that battle, and they'll go, you know what, we're gonna remove them or fix them or whatever. But some battles are not worth fighting.
And here's here's the thing. Especially the microtransaction thing. The reason why EA lost that battle is because their games weren't selling as well anymore. Because we not only did we have our Twitter voices, we spoke with our wallets,
which is much more powerful,
right?
Than like whatever you say on Twitter. Like, this was, I guess, before Twitter,
yeah.
But 2010, Modern Warfare 2, no dedicated servers. Everyone lost their shit on the forums.
Right.
They went nuts. And you know what Activision did? Nothing. Because they were like, who are you? People like Zach don't even know what dedicated servers are. And I still don't.
Yeah.
Something like about host migration, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, just basically, you can create your own rules in that dedicated server.
So bored. So bored. You just bored me to death right now. In like those 2 seconds. But they did nothing because like those people who are complaining about everything. But then you know what they did? What was it? The next game or the next 2 games? Put dedicated servers in there.
Yeah.
Or Battlefield 4. Well, they're not doing it, so we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's competition. That's just how that works. And you know, people complaining that Black Ops 4 doesn't have single player. But then they still friggin' bought it.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it. I had no interest.
Nah.
Whenever I play those games, I get mad because I lose.
Yeah.
I just got World War II. I haven't started it yet. But you know, we have to choose how we're going to exercise what little power we do have. And if you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna be an really old example, Elton John telling Ellen DeGeneres to cool it with being gay.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Then, which is an actual thing that happened.
Yeah.
Then, you know, you picked the wrong battle. But if you're gonna go to your, you know, your congressman and go, hey, support this gay rights bill, then that's probably the much better battle to choose.
And yeah, and just, you know, you do more than just like bitch about, like, you know, have the nastiest things to say. Just do more, like, be creative, be constructive. Loud noises don't work, man. And anytime someone succumbs to loud noises, I lose respect. You know,
Mm.
I'm very cautiously looking forward to Rise of Skywalker. I want to see what JJ brings to the table.
Oh my god, it's gonna be so good! I can't
Like,
wait to see it.
if it feels like a safe Star Wars movie, and you can tell when it's a safe Star Wars movie, right? If you can predict how the movie, because I couldn't predict how Last Jedi was going to go, right? Even from the trailers, right? Like, even if you had something, like a broken clock gets, the time right twice a day. So even if you sort of saw, like, okay, you're gonna have some temptations with Rey, that's pretty much par for the course for Star Wars. So yes, you're gonna have a temptation. You're gonna have some laser fight, laser sword fight. It's Star Wars, right? But Ryan Johnson gave an unpredictable movie. Like, I didn't see where he was gonna go with that. And I want the same thing with Rise of Skywalker. I want to sort of like go at the end of the movie. It's like, that was worth my time. Like, I didn't feel like it was a safe Star Wars movie. And if it's safe, that meant Disney said, all right, the Twitter voices got too loud. It got too loud. Right?
And the more mad people get on Twitter, probably means that the better the movie is. It's like when something gets a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, or whatever, the bare minimum to be fresh, or even if it gets 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like it could be like the most bland whatever movie ever. But if everyone thought that it was just okay,
yeah.
Well, it wasn't bad. It was just okay. Then it gets 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
But if half the people go, "Oh my god, this was the best movie ever," and half the people go, "I didn't get it. It was dumb."
Yeah.
Then it gets rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
But what's the better movie? I'd rather a movie be divisive than toast.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there are exceptions. Like, I just saw Bumblebee, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
So good. And it got like a really high Rotten Tomatoes, but when I was looking forward to it, I was like, looks fine.
Well, movie, when it came out, everyone who saw it originally, like the critics and everybody, was like, oh wow, it's number one, is better than BVS, and it was like it's not the greatest movie, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was Justice League. But fun and enjoyable wasn't enough for that movie.
Right, it's something that we've talked about, like about that perfect example. Diamonds Are Forever is Justice League.
Yeah,
it's course correction. It's them going, oh, we don't like your vision. We don't like the way this is going. It might alienate some people. So let's make something that everyone will look at and go,
Yeah, and you notice, so Diamonds Are Forever, they bring back Guy, then bring back Shirley to do the song, which is a great song. Not gonna take anything away from that song. They made it like Goldfinger, in terms of like, oh, it's with the villain basically don't want to kill Bond, because Goldfinger could have killed him too, just didn't. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. It's like, well, then shoot him then. So yeah, it brought it just like, and then if you look at on Our Majesty's Secret Service, there was no the classic opening of Bond. It didn't have that. There was no sort of like traditionally song to it. Yeah, even though that Louis Armstrong song, or Louis, Louis. Yeah.
Like they played their song in the movie itself.
In the movie.
Like there were no gadgets.
Yeah.
Different actor. Let him have a character arc.
And it's, he married the Bond girl. It
has a tragic ending.
Yeah, and
every Bond movie ends with him running off with the girl.
Exactly.
This one, boom, she dies.
Exactly. So it's like that was the Last Jedi of its saga, right? That was the Last Jedi.
Was.
And then so this guy, his name is Robert Burnett, right? He works in the industry, but he sometimes does a podcast with John Campea. He posted an old issue of, I think, was it Starlog magazine? One of those magazines back in the day, right? It was right when Star Wars came out, Return of the Jedi. and on the cover was 50 reasons why we hate Return of the Jedi but love Star Wars, right? That was, but if you look at people now, if you talk shit about Return of the Jedi, they smack you, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, that's just it. It's like, you guys really need to realize that even though you might be used to something might come out that is not particularly what, your vision of it. Just because it's not your vision of it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like, you just gotta go with it. You might hate it, fine. I'm not saying everyone should love The Last Jedi. Maybe the fact that Luke Skywalker wasn't the Luke that they thought he would grow up to be, fine, whatever, I don't care. But don't go as far as to say that movie ruined the legacy of Star Wars. What's the legacy of Star Wars? What do you know what the legacy of Star Wars is? Because if you knew what the legacy of Star Wars is, you would know that people didn't like Empire Strikes Back when that movie came out, right? You would know that people hated Return of the Jedi, especially with the Ewoks. You would know that all 3 prequel movies were deriled. Like, people spit on that movie, right?
I still do, and yes, I will still watch it anytime.
Exactly, and we're gonna do when closer to the release of Rise of Skywalker, we're gonna do that whole marathon and talk about those.
Absolutely,
right?
I love episode 2.
Yeah, right. Just we're questioning, should we do Rogue One and Solo as well, or should we skip those? I don't know.
Release order.
Right. So yeah, it's like you have all these different takes on different characters. You believe in that whole this betrays this betrays that. No. The only time you can complain about something is if when you say something that betrays, is if in one scene they say, oh, this character's this, right? And then all of a sudden the character acts out of character, and that's rare because you can't really make that type of decision, but it happens. Right.
It's the same as I don't review movies.
Mm-hmm.
I review games, which is easier. I think.
Right.
But when I
always think that was harder, but go ahead.
Because when I see a movie and I go, ooh, I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I go, I don't agree with that.
Right.
Because whether or not I agree with something.
Mm-hmm.
has no determination on its quality.
Yeah.
So I go, Batman v Superman. All of these things will go, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like whatever I don't like about it. And people will go, oh, no one liked that, so you can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You have to course correct. Make bland. Get Joss Whedon in here.
Yeah.
Not blaming Joss.
Yeah.
But you go, instead of saying I didn't like that or that was bad,
mm-hmm.
just go, I didn't agree with that.
Yeah,
that's not what I would have done, but it's what you did.
Yeah, I can't really think of an example where course correction 100% worked. Like,
I'm sure there's an example.
Yeah,
somewhere.
this probably
and maybe in long running series like James Bond,
mm-hmm.
You've got to go back and forth. You've got to swing that pendulum.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because if you have every single Bond movie be dead straight serious, then you'll get kind of worn out. And if you have every movie being laugh a minute riot fest of camp and
mm-hmm.
ridiculousness, then that wears thin too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't really call those course corrections. More like, all right, we've exhausted this. Let's try something new. That's totally different from course correcting, because it's like you didn't do anything wrong in the first place. You just decided to do something else the next time around, which I think that works. That will work better than if course correcting, because course correcting is too reactive to the point where you go too far and lose the essence of what made it great in the first place.
Right. Yeah, because you keep on doing this thing where you try to get new people into it, and then you go, well, what about the legion of fans that we already have?
Exactly.
Fuck them?
Yeah.
Expendables 3. yeah, what's with all the old people in these Expendables movies? Why don't we get Ronda Rousey and who's the guy I like? Kellen Lutz.
Yeah.
And I really like Kellen Lutz. I still believe that he's going to be a huge star, but like I don't know when.
Yeah, that was because it's like, okay, Expendables is supposed to be about these old dudes, old timey action heroes coming together.
Also, what's with all the blood? Let's make it PG.
Yeah, right. I was like, course correction hardly ever works. People, let's stop doing that, because throughout time, it's always proven that it doesn't work. Even if they make money, like Diamonds and Forever are Forever, it made money. It made money.
Yeah.
But look at the legacy though. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, considered way better. You know what I mean?
And as we will learn from the Roger Moore movies, if you stick with it and you keep on delivering quality, you're gonna build your audience.
Yeah.
Like they stuck with Batman Begins and they made The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
$1 million hit.
So I'm wondering, do you think BVS will become a cult classic?
Yeah.
In the future,
I think it already is.
Yeah.
I think it was a cult classic the day it came out. I still don't like it.
I don't like the theatrical version. I hated that version when it came out. I remember when I watched it in the theater, I felt empty because I felt like things just was like this.
Yeah, I know people who go back and forth on whether they like.
But I do like the third.
Who like the theatrical version. Some people like the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition is better.
Friggin' hate how it's listed on
as the Ultimate
title.
Edition.
It says Superman Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
It's like there's another movie that did that recently. I don't remember what it is now, but like, how lame would it be if like X-Men Days of Future Past, like the title card just said the road cut.
Or wait, I'm trying to think. No, it didn't do it.
It doesn't.
No, I was trying to think if the extended version of Lord of the Rings said extended edition, but it doesn't. They don't.
There was one. Oh, I think Spider-Man 2 does it.
Oh, really?
It says like Spider-Man 2.1.
Oh, wow.
Also, theatrical version way better.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That one.
You know what? Speaking of theater, I know we're off on a tangent now. I love
this. Should probably be a second podcast.
Yeah.
We should record 2 outros at the end.
The theatrical version of Mr. and Mrs. Smith is way better than the director's cut. I like, especially that the whole sequence when they're at the end when they're like shooting in the mall.
I haven't seen either version.
Oh, you should definitely watch it. You should definitely watch it. The movie that made them fall in love.
With Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt and Angelina.
Made them fall in love.
Huh?
Were they already in love? Were they already married?
No, Brad Pitt was married to Jennifer Aniston when he made that movie. Yeah, so that's the movie that broke them up. Yeah. But movie was good though. I liked it. All right, so I guess that should be it for Goldfinger. For
Goldfinger 2.
Goldfinger 2. Diamonds Are Forever. The next movie is Live and Die. Roger Moore's first Bond movie. But Louis Maxwell is still in it, right?
Oh yeah.
She was cute in it. She was cute in this one too. For the small time she was on there, she was cute.
Her last one is View to a Kill.
Okay.
She's matronly in that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can't wait to check out Roger Moore's first.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way.
You mean Milfy?
A little gilfy.
Okay.
But she's still a beautiful woman.
Yeah. So stay tuned next week for that episode. You can find me on Facebook and on Twitter at Facebook at Pop Culture Galaxy, Instagram at Pop Culture Galaxy, and on Twitter at Marky Tundra. Where can they reach you at?
You can find me on Twitter at my name, Zach Wojner. DM me if I say anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, which like I never do. It's like I'm not courting controversy or whatever. But like, But although you don't have to be, like, the people who are often my people,
Mm-hmm.
will find a way to get offended at anything, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And it really makes me sad because I'm like, we're allies. We're on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
The purity police is what's eating the left-wing parties. The Nancy Pelosi's trying to eat Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and suck the youth out of her. But that's a whole other podcast. You can find me at my name, Zach Wojner.
Mm-hmm.
Find me on Instagram at Zach Woj, and read my work at screenrant.com.
Nice. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of this Bond movie and past Bond movies. Almost, I forgot to ask. Since Connery, this is his last, what do you think out of the five? Six. No, six. Not including the other one. The never.
Right.
Yeah. Which one do you think is his best Bond movie?
Well, there's the one that I think is the best, and the one I think he's the best in.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I like them all for different reasons, even Goldfinger. It'd be, on both counts, it'd be a toss-up between From Russia with Love and Thunderball.
Right.
Probably with the edge to From Russia with Love. I think that it's a tighter, more focused story.
Mm-hmm.
I think Thunderball, but Thunderball benefits from being so big in its scope. But like on a rainy day, if I had to pick one, From Russia with Love.
Oh, I went with Thunderball. Thunderball.
Okay.
I was like,
Perfect.
I think it's his
Mix
best.
it up.
Yeah. So yeah, Thunderball was his best, and we're gonna do the same thing with Roger. We can't. I guess George Lazenby, his best was on Our Majesty's Secret Service.
Which is arguably one of the best ones.
Yeah. So,
if not the best.
So we'll do that with Roger. Roger did what? Seven Bond movies. All right. All right, so that brings us to the end. So until next time, folks, I want to say peace.
Indeed.